we can kind of start from there and get into it. So if you want to say, hey, this is OB Original, you're listening to the Vanguard, we can start from there.
Hey guys, it's OB Original, and you guys are listening to the Vanguard.
Thank you so much for being here, performing for us, bringing the energy, especially on your birthday. Happy birthday.
Hey, more life. Thank you so much.
How are you
brother.
feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling blessed, but I'm not gonna lie. Like 10% of me is feeling that elderliness. So I'm
Yeah?
feeling old physically,
Okay.
but we keep moving, and I'm just really grateful for, just being alive and being able to live through my purpose. To be honest.
Absolutely. And that purpose is music.
Yes, sir. And also, like, when we talk about purpose, the main way I can define it would be, you know, actually spreading the message of the African diaspora through music. So, meaning that, like, if we're talking about different genres that come from, black culture, like, hip hop, reggae, even like the music that I mainly focus on, Afro beats, Afro fusion, celebrating that there's a plethora and there's multitudes of different styles that come from, one place.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I'd love to just know how you got to the place you are today. So I'm very curious just about OB Original's origins
yeah.
within music, within performing, because you talked about being a choir kid, being in one act plays. I know you were the star in Shrek the Musical too. So
Yeah.
I want to hear about that and how that kind of led
Yeah.
into performing and music.
Yeah. Like I said, it really came from trying to figure stuff out by myself. Ultimately, just like, not a lot of people are doing these type of things, but how can I make this something that's a positive thing for others? Yeah, but essentially, I started, music, with band, orchestra, playing different instruments in those, factions. When I went to, I'm a graduate of Irondale High School
Mm-hmm.
in New Brighton, but that's where I'll say like it really started for me.
Okay.
So I did, the musicals. I was part of the one act plays. And actually, to be real, Ozone in this respect had his beginnings at Irondale.
Okay.
Essentially because what I did was, I started recording a lot of my friends,
Right.
that wanted to do different music in the cafeteria with
Yeah.
like just studio equipment.
Yeah.
But
Because it was Ozone Sound Labs at one point, right?
yes, it was originally
Yeah.
Ozone Sound Labs, mainly for the idea of it being a place for people to come and get their ideas out in a proper professional way, so that way they could be able to, elevate, their own artistry. But, when I went to St. John's, I kept that going, started, establishing relationships with other people in the city, like my brother Bakari that went to Hamlin. Breezy was the first person I really ever recorded with. So, I started with him. And I started, meeting a lot of really cool people. But then it was in 2019 when I just kind of made the ultimate decision to be like, okay, we have really great music, but what does the marketing side look like? Especially if we don't have a label to come and support us. We only have ourselves. So that's when, the suffix moved from Sound Labs to Ozone Creations, and that was with my first release, Tsunami, in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just talk about Tsunami for a
Yeah.
second too. And I do want to dissect all of what you just said as well. But Tsunami, that was so cool when that came out. And I just want to know, how did it feel seeing Afro B put that on one of his like top 5 underrated songs at the time?
I tell you, it was full circle for me,
Yeah.
because being at St. John's, I was listening to Afrobeat, going to class, doing my homework, even DJing at St. John's. I would put that in my like,
The
spinning,
Unconscious program.
you know
was
what I
that,
mean? Yeah, the unconscious program as well. So like ultimately, I was really into, Afro beats at the time, and when Afrobeat really hit my like, was like, yo, I like Tsunami, I was like, okay, at least I know I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, you go in and day out, and you're just working on a dream, and you're just like, damn, is it worth it? Is it worth it? But ultimately, seeing something like that, especially from somebody that you look up to, just gives you that affirmation and that
Yeah.
confirmation to keep going. So
Yeah. Were you expecting such a reaction from that song, or was this kind of like, I'm gonna put this out and just try and see what happened, or did you know what you had at that point?
Yeah. I would be honest. I recorded Tsunami right before I went to work. It was like 30 minutes before I had to get to work, so it was really like a rough demo.
Oh, okay.
You know, so one of many rough demos.
Mhm.
But after I was at work and I was on my break, I kept listening to it again and again and again. And it was at that moment
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So, and then the next step for me, actually, and this is specialty, but then I had, you know, multitudes of my guys, you know, feature on it. So I had my guy Chinwe, I had Bakari, I had, who else did I try to put on there? It was Angie. I think Angie had a shot at it, but ultimately it was Barry that, like, you know, I used it for a feature because this was like my first approach of being like, okay, in my Quincy Jones bag, like curating a track, you know. But like ultimately, yeah, you know, I had a lot of like, you know, love and support before the track was dropped to make me like firmly say, okay, I think we got something here, you know.
Yeah, and did that love support come from mostly you on the producing side, or were you also putting music out during that time? Because I know you had Collegeville Woods, right? That was that your name before OB Original?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Collegeville Woods was my alias before OB Original, and that was really mainly focused on production.
Gotcha.
So before, you know, the OB Original, I was really making a lot of hip hop and trap beats for people in the city.
Okay.
Under Collegeville Woods. So even in that respect, you know, if it weren't for that, you know, and people being aware of that, you know, that transition from, you know, the urban music to Afro beats probably wouldn't have been as smooth.
Yeah.
Because like now in retrospect, I realized that I had a lot of people in my circle and in my family that were able to see what I was able to do, how serious I was, how consistent I was.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, you know, moved very well to the OB Original brand. But
sure.
now with it being like, okay, a bigger message of, okay, you know, music.
Yeah. Tell me about that transition and that message. How did that come over time? Was it like just one day you're like, I need to do this? Tell me about that.
Yeah, man. It was the summer of 2019.
Okay.
You know, when it really officially like changed. And it was to be honest, it was a lot of really great music and a lot of content, but like personally for me, I was just like, I would love to put my name and brand my name on what I do proudly, you know, not to hide from it.
For sure.
You know, because even in the respect of my name, Collegeville Woods is from St. John's.
Right.
That's not me.
Right.
You know, I'm Obiora. So I said, okay, ultimately, let me put my name on there. So for till the day I die, and future generations that will come and see me, they'll know who I was. And then now I said, okay, when it came to the last part of it, giving respect to originality, you know, and I think in my theory, when I talk about originality, it doesn't mean that it has to, everything from 0 to 100 has to stem from you, because that's actually a little level of dishonesty. Because, you know, it's even in the respect of my name, original is to come and celebrate that originality comes from somewhere. You know, history has come before us. Let's celebrate that and also, you know, take time to evolve into different ways from that history.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Absolutely. And so taking that history and that love for Afrobeats, Afrofusion music, tell me about the process of bringing that now into the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Yeah. For me, it was not a really big, not to sound like crazy, but it wasn't really that of a big problem for me. Reason being is because growing up, I was always aware of strong African and African American communities in Minnesota, in Chicago, even in Wisconsin. You know, personally for me, I grew up in the Igbo community, right? So we have this like event called Igbo Fest every single year, where we you know, showcase our culture and our heritage with different like masquerades, dances.
Was Fufu Everywhere filmed there, or was that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, you bring up a good point. You're doing non-war for me today. Oh, wow. Yes, Fufu was recorded at Ebo Fest.
Okay.
Actually, that was the year before I dropped Tsunami.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But that was a really great, track too, because even with the track, it was supposed to be like a parody of like
Right.
Uber everywhere,
Right.
right? But like even shout out to Dog Food right now that's doing his thing. Like when he came to the event, he recorded. He was eating some, suya with the fried rice, but it came out to be a very serious production.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. I was like, whoa, we can really do this.
Right.
So
right.
let's just keep on doing it consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that consistency and that conscious backup, that's really cool to see that that gave you the confidence to put out all of your music. So after Tsunami, kind of getting some success from that, tell me about the process after that of making music. Were you kind of timid to be like, oh, I have to one up this song, or tell me about that kind of process after that song came out?
That's a good question. I knew when I dropped Tsunami and it had the response from the people that it had, that I'll be coming out with something that will overtop that. I will come out with something that will be evolutionary, not only to my catalog, but for the sonic and the sonic and the sound that we're trying to set up. But the only thing in honesty that I can say to myself is that I just don't know how it will happen, when it will happen, where it will happen.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I feel like when you start to realize, okay, that you have it in yourself, that it's already there, and it's been there since day one, talking about birthday since, September 16th,
Yeah.
then you move along enjoying, the journey of life, knowing, okay, I don't know how this one will sound. I don't know what it will look like. I don't know the theme, but knowing that you have the nucleus to come and establish something like that.
Very
Yeah.
cool. So the confidence and that healthy mindset is always there then.
Yes.
Very cool.
Consistent.
Very cool. So then tell me about Waves. Well, yeah, we'll start with Waves
Yeah.
first. That was kind of your first project, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know you had Collegeville's Finest, but we're not. But like,
Yeah.
first project is Obi Original. You say, tell me about that.
Yeah. With Waves, the project really stemmed from the single Tsunami. When I wrote Tsunami, is actually what I would describe Tsunami as a melancholy composition.
Okay.
Meaning that it feels good, but like the theme and the content is not
Sure.
as
Sure.
like happy.
Right.
It's like, baby, you're causing confusion. Why aren't you understanding
Right.
that?
No,
like,
totally.
I really love you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Seen
know?
through the music video too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like ultimately, I then noticed as a black man, what does it look like to communicate healthy love to another significant other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also acknowledging that things come in waves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what the main theme of Waves was for me. So like once I started doing that, Tsunami was like that. Why don't you understand?
Right.
No talking is that like come closer. You know what I mean? Let's just be with each other. I have another song called For You, which is like for sure when my wedding day comes, that's going to be the song I'm going to be dancing with my baby.
Very cool. Very
Cool. But like, different aspects and different like, areas of the spectrum of love.
Yeah.
And I just essentially took Tsunami as one, and then I started, trying to fill those different spectrums with different songs.
Gotcha.
Had the project.
Gotcha. Right. And so in terms of the writing process for that, then is this a concept that you have in mind just behind love, or is this like speaking on personal experiences? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a balance of both. Right. It stems from a personal experience, which then you realize and you start, having relationships with people, not like relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, but like, friends. Right. And then you start seeing their scenarios and their situations, and you're like, that's very similar to mine.
Yeah.
Whoa. So it's not only me that is going to come and, relate to this. It's something that could relate to a lot of people, so yeah.
Absolutely. And having such a like established producing background, which usually comes first for you? Is it the beat or the lyrics?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, it's actually the beats. The beat is the universal language that everybody will understand.
Sure.
So if we start there, then it makes it more easier for people that might not be from Minneapolis. Maybe they're from Nova Scotia, for them to understand the music.
Yeah.
You know. And even when it comes to my lyrics, I do not write anything. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not write one word. Yeah, Chinwe, have you ever seen me write? You see.
Doesn't happen.
No, but
Gotcha.
but essentially what happens would be I would actually what I call modern bebop or
Okay.
speaking in tongues.
Okay.
So like I could just be yeah me yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know what I mean, and just have a melody.
Sure.
And before you know it, I'm like, even doing that, I have phonetics already in there.
Yeah.
And then I put some words on it, and I'm like, wow, this actually works.
Yeah.
And I've come to
Yeah.
realize, to be honest, bro, like sometimes when you do it like that in your songwriting process,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the approach of saying what you really want to say and trying to get it out and
Right.
translating yourself.
Gotcha.
So
It's
that's
very
that's
organic, I imagine.
very organic.
Yeah. Very cool. So then fast forward to your newest project, joint project with Keon Rose, right?
Yeah, Kion Rose.
Excuse me, Keon Rose.
That's right.
Tell me about that project, and is it a continuation of these kind of themes of love? Because it seems like a little bit. Or tell me about it.
Yeah. So the Melindigo project is really celebrating, you know, our black women. You know, so mainly because you know, there's been a lot of things in social media for the past years, a lot of, you know, conflict with like, you know, others that like ultimately, you know, Kion and I wanted to kind of, you know, say our piece on, you know, but like at the same time through music.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you talk about the term Melindigo, it's not a, like it's usually like a what you're wearing.
Right. Yeah.
You see
I
what I
looked it
mean?
up and I was like, because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
ultimately like it's kind of like it's kind of like a dual meaning. It's like, yeah,
Okay.
we're from Minnesota, that's like who we are, like, you know, we're wearing Melindigo, but at the same time, like, you know, black women are almost like a flower, you know, that have to be protected at all costs, you know. So ultimately that's the main you know, message behind the project. But with Melindigo, we also try to expand on different sound spectrums. So meaning like even the title track is kind of like, you know, that dance track.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to something like The Storm, that's kind of like more of a uptown chill vibe.
I think that's my favorite.
You
one.
know, the best way I can describe Melindigo is like modern Afro jazz.
Very cool.
You know, so.
And how did that come? Did you have to kind of push yourself to get to that point? Had you really done anything like that before?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, yeah, because like even with like Tsunami, it being like self-produced,
Right.
you can hear that like Tsunami is not the same as like anything in like Melindigo.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and I feel like it's kind of cool too because you're able to see, you know, where I was with my production and how like my production has matured.
Right.
It's almost like wine, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that just something that happens over time, not forcing anything, or is it someone there pushing you to be like, get out of your comfort zone, try this? How does that work?
Yeah, so to be honest, when we were recording Melindigo, it was just a studio session. Kion would be in the studio. After I was done with maybe a song he wanted to do, I'll just make a beat.
Okay.
I'll just get in the feeling. And before you know it, he's like, oh, this is fire. Okay. Here's the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try something out. You know, but even in the respect of when I work with Kion, his attention to detail is something that that actually you can hear a lot in the project. You know, when it comes to ad-libs, when it comes to sonics and everything. You know, so in that respect, yes, for sure. You know, like, you know, the inspiration really comes from, you know, doing that collaboratively. You know, and even with him, I'm so proud of him because even with Kion a couple years ago, he wasn't even doing any music, but arguably he's, you know, top 5 R&B singers, and he doesn't even know it.
It's very cool.
You know, so I'm privileged to be part of that project with him for sure.
Yeah. So I want to talk about kind of just the artist process too, of you creating a song, but then I know a big part of you, of your artistry too, is kind of the visual aspect of it as well. And you've had some really cool videos come out that are just fun, visually just beautiful. Tell me about that. Where does that inspiration come from to make those music videos?
Motion pictures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about like Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta.
Mm-hmm.
what's always tied to that? The Bee Gees.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about Do the Right Thing with Spike Lee, what's tied to that? Public Enemy. Um, always growing up, I've always loved the idea of soundtracks, you know, and I feel like going deeper in the idea of soundtracks is, you know, the way I see it is my song that I record is now a soundtrack of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, you know, when you're talking about doing a video,
Yeah.
the video complements the song.
Right.
Even in the respect of when I do my promotion, it's like the album art is the movie poster.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's just kind of like seeing all these analogies and now putting it into the music for real, that's actually made it a lot easier for me as an artist not to get too strained or stressed about, oh, how am I going to do this video? What's the idea of this? What's the idea of that?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like ultimately I just said, okay, with Tsunami, I'm talking about heartbreak. Let me write a script on like, okay, what's going on in the scene.
Gotcha.
You know, Fanta is like a party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me have my peoples. Let's have a
Right.
party.
Okay.
Know,
So it's never hard to come up with those ideas because it's literally just like, oh, I'll just go back and listen to the song and it'll be there. The answer will be there.
For sure.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So I have probably just like a million questions I still want to ask, but I'll try to keep it short. Ozone Creations too. I know Coup d'etat came out. Tell me about that collaborative process.
Yes, man. You know, and actually, shout out to my peoples at Ozone. From this day, September 16th, our Coup d'etat project is actually a year and a day old.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big, beautiful time for us. But the collaborative process with Coup d'etat was very eye-opening in the respect that, you know, in having brothers and a sister that are willing to take that challenge with you, you know, and finding like-minded people that are willing to take that challenge.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, to come out with a project that has like that many songs from an independent stable is not something to kind of, you know, like scoff at.
Yeah.
You know, so like even in the respect of the Coup d'etat project, we had a lot of the tracks done. And even the main premise was for our fans to listen to a lot of the songs that we've wanted to release for a while, but never have really gotten to that, like, you know, certain theme, you know, in that respect. So it was actually, in that respect, it was quite easy.
Okay.
But then when it came to other songs that came up, like, you know, maybe a couple months before release, that was the one where we had to really make sure they were proper, especially our posse tracks, I like to call them, when all of us are on them.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You know, like Gin and Juice and Lost. Yeah.
What did you learn about each other through this process?
Yeah, I really learned that, you know, we have a lot of sonic palettes kind of satisfied.
For sure.
You know, when it comes to Chinwe has a lot of mellow sounds. When it comes to me, Jiggy Mommy is that big energy track.
Sure.
Summer has Ready or Not,
right?
You know, which is very nostalgic.
Yeah.
That was the one I was just like so excited to make because for me, I'm a Motown guy.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, all right, everybody, here it is. If you want to do collective, watch Motown documentary, see how they did it. There we go. But I'm a big Motown guy.
Yeah.
And even when it comes to like Breeze, him rapping, and then Bakari with his track, what was it?
I like him on At Ease too.
Worthwhile.
Worthwhile
With
too.
Worthwhile.
Yeah.
That one, that was like one track when Bakari came with it. It was supposed to be a single for him.
Okay.
You know, but like for him to be like, yo, okay, let's put it on the project, you know, that was
Very
inshallah,
cool.
man. So and then you say you like At Ease?
I do really like At Ease.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know.
Yep.
So I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really great project, and I'm happy and grateful that like our collective came with the idea that, you know, this is like a takeover.
Yeah.
You know, because like even when I said coup d'etat to the group, people were like, what? What is that? What's a coup d'etat? But originally I come from Nigeria, where like coup d'etats is like a military takeover of a government. But with us, we wanted to do a peaceful takeover of the establishment. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's our main premise with coup d'etat.
It's very cool. And so now that we have we've talked about those projects. I kind of want to know what's on your radar as well. I know obviously you guys are performing at Amsterdam on the 22nd. What else? What else is on your radar? Solo, collaboratively?
Yeah. So next up for me, I'm going to be having my Black Atlantics project coming out in December.
Oh, cool.
The Black Atlantics is my band that I curated that kind of focalizes on high life music mixed with indie rock.
Very cool.
So I'm excited for that. I also have a couple of things coming up when it comes to rebranding the studio. So essentially, I want to make sure that we have the studio more available to different clientele as well. So, and then also too, we have Summer's project that just came out,
Yeah.
Girl Against World. So that's another banger that we just worked on.
Absolutely.
And then we have Breezy coming out with his project in the next month for Midas Touch 2. So we have a lot of things going on, man.
I mean,
So
that's very exciting to hear, and that's super cool that you're venturing into just different artistic genres too, and that'll be super cool to see. And yeah, congrats on Summer releasing that awesome project. Any words of wisdom to kind of leave us off with today, or anything I missed that you want to tell listeners out there?
Yeah, man. Like I was saying, Radio K has been a space where I have really been peeping it for a really long while, even in respect of like high school. And even, me performing at like First Avenue, that's another place that's established in the city. And I tell people, man, it's day by day. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
As hard as you try, it won't happen tomorrow. But that doesn't mean that can't happen the next day. So keep on going. Believe in yourself for real, and you hear that all the time, but really look inside yourself and have that good minute, have that discussion, because yourself loves you. So keep on moving, So that's all I have to say.
I appreciate the wise words. I appreciate you being here today. Happy birthday, Obi Original.
Yeah.
Thank you
More
again.
Life, man. Thank you. Come. Thank you.
I appreciate it.